stop blaming everyone else for your own choices. So have you ever watched one of those how to stop procrastinating videos? I'm assuming if you clicked on this, you probably have. I have watched so many of those, like on end. Like basically I used to like scroll through so many of those videos and like look through them, which one would help me, which one's better, which one's worse, whatever. And because I looked at those videos, it took me a really long time, but I realized the more I watched that type of content, the more I actually procrastinated. Because if you think about it, you're technically watching that video and that is taking up your time and that is creating procrastination. So why were those videos made in the first place by those people? Those videos were probably made obviously to get views and to get watch time and all those things, but at the end of the day, do they really help you? They might give you some motivation for a day or two, but are they actually helping you stay like disciplined and like motivated long term? For me, those videos never worked, and after I'd watch one of those, I might get motivated for like a couple of hours and then I'd be back to that self where I'm like tired and I don't want to do anything. And once you end up watching those videos and they don't work out for you, or whatever you end up doing doesn't work out for you, just stop eventually. You're like, oh yeah, this is that video's fault, or this is somebody else's fault. You basically always somehow subconsciously find someone else to blame, or maybe you even do blame yourself, which you should do, be blaming yourself. But you do blame yourself, but you're not thinking about it logically, you're thinking about it emotionally. So you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so stupid, I'm so this, I'm so that, I can't even stick to a habit that I'm trying to make, like whatever it is you're trying to do, learn a new hobby, or if you're failing at that hobby, you don't want to keep going anymore. Basically, you're like constantly trying, but then you're giving up so easily, and you're either blaming it on someone else or yourself. But that's not even that worst part. The worst part is you just give up and you don't keep going and you don't do anything about it. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, we all complain at some point in our lives, and we complain most days, but is it really the other person's fault, or is it really the fault of society? Really, it is, because you were raised by your parents and you were raised by society with certain like ideas that were pushed into you from a very young age. But just because those ideas that were like processed into your brain and you became this computer of where you like specifically only follow those ideologies of other people, that does not mean you can't start thinking for yourself. Because once you start thinking for yourself, you're going to realize you need to change. So that's how you're going to end up watching those procrastination videos. But that isn't enough. Realizing that you're trapped isn't enough, because if you can't change it, then there's no point. It doesn't matter if you are realizing you're trapped or if you're not realizing it, because you're going to feel depressed either way. So if you can't change it, why are you watching those procrastination videos? They literally make no sense. Maybe they work for some people, but they have never worked for me. The way I get motivated is I just have discipline. Motivation is not a long-term thing ever. You cannot get motivated for more than a week and then you just stop, because that's how motivation works. It keeps you motivated for a little bit and then you just stop being motivated. So even though you were fed all of these things at a very young age, like certain standards and policies and all those things, and you realize that and you want to change it, but just realizing it is obviously going to make you above that average 90% of people, but it's not going to get you into that 1% because of you don't do anything about it. You're just complaining about it. You can always complain about it, but at the end of the day, if you don't do anything about it, no one will care either way. I don't think people realize, no matter who they complain to, their parent, their teacher, their friend, whoever it is, at the end of the day, they have their own life to focus on, and you should be focusing on yours. So you're giving them all those problems, but those problems are still with you. You have to face those problems by yourself, with yourself, because at the end of the day, you're battling with yourself whether or not you're going to choose to improve your life in whatever way it is. So at this point, you're going to keep complaining, whatever. It doesn't matter who you're blaming. If you're blaming somebody else or you're blaming yourself. But if you're not doing it, that blaming isn't going to get you anywhere. You know what I mean? It's just not, you're not going to do anything about it. So the thing is, those procrastination videos or whatever it is don't work at all. Why? Because you need to just do it. There's no like secret formula to make it easier. There is literally nothing you can do to make it easier. You have to just do it. Because if you don't just do it, then nothing's going to happen. Your life is going to stay the same. Whatever it is that you want to change about yourself. And 9 times out of 10, if you ask the average person, they have problems and they want to change those problems or change themselves for the better. So to do that though, you have to become your own best friend, and you have to realize you have to do certain things that might require effort and tiredness on your part for your future self to be happier. This is a great example is when I'm working out, or when whatever it is I'm doing, whether I'm stretching or whatever. So for example, I don't want to do a workout or whatever. So I'm like, I don't want to do this. Why am I here? I just had school. I'm so tired, all that. But then at the end of the day, maybe I end up doing the workout anyway. So after I do it, I feel so good, you know? After you do the thing, you feel so much better. But then if you don't do it, you feel sad and bad about it. And that just demotivates you even more. That's how it works. But the skill to this is not approaching it with any emotions. Because no matter if you do the thing or not, you will be able to come back to doing the thing that next day. So for example, if you want to get a habit of drinking water, drink 2 liters of water every day. So for example, one day you don't do it, you drink a Coke or whatever it is, you drink something else, and then you're immediately getting emotional. You're like, oh no, why did I buy this Coke? Was it on offer or whatever it is? Was it my own fault? Was it somebody else's fault? It doesn't matter. It matters whether you approach that emotionally, because once you start approaching that emotionally, that bit of discipline, that bit of a habit that you're trying to create, you're going to fail that habit. Because the way a habit works, you're not supposed to be thinking about it. You're not supposed to be approaching it emotionally. So stop approaching it emotionally, because no one is stopping you from doing that, you know? So even though you were created and programmed a certain way, that does not mean you can't change yourself. You can't change that program. And once you start changing and then you fall back into the same position you were in before, you're still going to blame society, even though technically you know it's your own fault. When I started approaching everything logically rather than emotionally, that is the second my life changed for the better. Obviously, you need your emotions to approach certain things like relationships or whatever that is, but at the same time, most of the things in life, we need to think about them logically. And the thing, people make this mistake is that they don't think like that. They always put their emotions first. I'm not saying that emotions are a bad thing, because they're not. You need them to be a human being. But for once, every once in a while, if you're failing at something or if you're making constant mistakes, just start thinking about that thing, whatever it is you're failing at, logically for a second. And then you might just realize what you're doing wrong. Start asking yourself questions that you don't want to be asked by someone else and that you don't want to ask yourself, because you know the less you want to answer the question, the more important that question is. Whenever I'm stressed out about whatever that is, I always ask myself why I'm stressed out about this, and I try to realize the reason of why am I in this constant tired state? What is causing this? And then once I find out that problem, because it always is something that either I'm doing to myself or that is happening that the people around me are causing. And the second I realize what the problem is, I think of every single solution on how to get rid of it. I'm not just like, oh yeah, but if I cut out this friend, they'll be sad. So pretend there's a friend that's really emotionally draining me. And I think about why I'm constantly tired. And then I'm like, oh wait, yeah, it's that friend. They keep dumping their feelings on me. So then you're like, so the way to solve this problem would be to tell that friend either that they should change themselves or that you should walk away from that person. So this might be a really long time best friend or whatever it is, and you're like, yeah, but I don't want to walk away from that person. This is the moment you're not thinking about yourself, you're thinking emotionally about that person. That is not a good thing, because you should prioritize yourself, and in this situation you should think logically. Because you need that, because that is going to make yourself feel better and be better at whatever it is. You won't be as emotionally drained, so you'll be able to do more things and make better friends that are helping you be less emotionally drained. I know this isn't a really long video, but that's all I'm going to talk about for today, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Thank you, everyone. Bye.